Oh boy, time to add another video to the list of videos talking about the decline of modern gaming. A growing topic lately has been the opinion that modern video games have been on a strong decline, and when you take the time to really think about it, are they really wrong? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that every game that comes out today is bad. There's still a few games out there that interest me and they look really cool and they're pretty good games. But as time goes on, I find myself losing more and more interest in modern video games. Every time this discussion comes up, there's always that one same question that gets asked. Are you just growing out of video games? And for that, I feel no, I'm not growing out of video games. I still like video games and still have the urge to want to play them. It's just that a lot of newer games aren't catching my interest as much as they used to these days. And in this video, I will attempt to go over those reasons why. Lately, there's been a plethora of broken games released these days. With the rush to hit tight deadlines combined with the era of online patches and the release it now, patch it after mentality, this has led to a lot of games that are very buggy or just downright unplayable on release. Now, everything depends on the almighty day one patch. Oh yeah, dude, just wait till the patch comes out. It's like can the game be complete upon release or something like that? I mean, I understand that games are hard to make and nothing is truly perfect, but if only developers were given time to actually finish the game when it is actually ready, that would be a big help. Also, the brutality of crunch that goes on in the industry, it's nothing new sadly. Crunch has been around for years and that definitely doesn't help things either. But back in the day, there were no patches or online updates, so the developers had to make sure that the game was as close to complete as possible before they shipped it out. Now, no, don't get it twisted. That doesn't mean that games back then were perfect. There's plenty of broken and buggy games from the days gone by, but not having that safety net of an online updates and patches made sure the devs stayed on top of things a lot more to ship a functioning game. Because if it didn't, that would hurt the developer's reputation and would also hurt their pockets because it would cost a lot of money to, recall or fix the game. Or there's some cases where they would put out a more updated version of a game via like a greatest hits release or something like that. But even then, that's only if the game itself sold well beforehand. Another factor that has killed my interest in modern gaming is it seems like the only thing these companies want to put out anymore are more remasters or sequels. It's as if everything that isn't a remake or remaster or a sequel to an already established franchise is deemed too much of a risk for publishers to make these days. It's either that or something that is a huge hype trend to follow, knowing that they could potentially make millions of dollars on it, like the influx of battle royale games with the popularity of stuff like Fortnite and all that. Companies try to rush and make these other battle royales so they can get a piece of that Fortnite money, which is making mega millions for Epic Games. I have zero interest in playing a battle royale game. I mean, I played some of COD Warzone with friends a few times, and that was fun. But I can't see myself really getting into stuff like that, so I don't play battle royales. As a matter of fact, I don't really like playing multiplayer games much anymore in general. I feel like all the more enjoyable multiplayer games were like a while ago that came out on during the PS3 and 360 era, and a few multiplayer games here and there from early in the PS4. Now I know there's other types of games that out there that come out like indie games and smaller AA budget games, and I do enjoy playing those kinds of games a lot. Indies have been coming in real clutch these past few years, and they can, especially when they can make more enjoyable, more creatively unique games than many of what these AAA companies can put out these days. It's just I like variety. I enjoy the variety of it all. I'm the kind of person that I can play a big budget AAA game like God of War, then turn around and play a smaller in between AA game like a Plague Tale Innocence, which I have and I still need to get around to playing that at some point. And also I can get enjoyment out of an indie game like Rhyme or something like that. Just whatever, insert just about whatever indie game here, so long as it looks like something I would be interested in playing. You know, a place you can throw in like the odd, obscure, kind of weird game that no one really talks about or anything, like the Deadly Tower of Monsters. I don't really see anyone talk about that game, but I played it, got the platinum in it. I enjoy that game. It's a fun top-down game that has like a cool 1950s B movie vibe to it. Don't see anyone talk about that game, but I liked it. And the thing is, I can find enjoyment out of all of those types of games in different ways and stuff. And I really enjoy a good amount of variety in my games and stuff like that. It really helps us to play different, types of games, just get different types of experiences and things like that. And I understand, like I said before, I understand that games cost a lot of money to make and that it's a business and they need the money in order to stay in business. But I just wish the AAA companies were allowed a little more freedom and creativity. Like, I miss that real experimental era of gaming, like in the 90s and the 2000s. I feel like what the AAA industry is doing is too samey, it's too predictable, and it's getting really boring. They just put out the same, like I said, the same thing. They're all doing open world games, all trying to, capitalize on the popularity of Battle Royale. So every company seems like has put out some form of Battle Royale or something or another or something like that. Now I feel like complacency has really killed the creativity in the AAA industry, and Ubisoft being a perfect example of this. With Far Cry 5 with Far Cry 6 looking about just the same as Far Cry 5, and that looked about the same as Far Cry 4, which looked about the same as Far Cry 3, which started the whole thing. So that's why I barely, play any Ubisoft games in general. And now, accounting to this argument that anytime you bring it up, people always love to talk about is the whole vote with your wallet, buy/support the games that you want to see. And you see, the thing about that is, voting with your wallet doesn't seem to really work much anymore. Like, I don't buy the vast majority of remasters. I'm very picky when it comes to the ones I'll buy, as I just don't have interest in spending money on most of them, and a lot of them are remastered or games that I've already played before, so I don't really see the point in buying it again, just play it again. But just because I don't buy them, that doesn't slow down the amount that come out or anything. I also don't really buy microtransactions, but that doesn't stop nearly every company under the sun from trying to squeeze every possible space of a game with as much microtransactions as possible. So it's like, even if you do the whole vote with your wallet and don't buy that kind of stuff, it still doesn't help, because in this day and age, the masses will still pre-order the next big hyped up new video game. Rabid fan bases of these companies will heavily defend the things that these companies do and buy into it anyway, regardless. Like Nintendo, for example, the recent controversy about them putting fast travel behind an amiibo that you must purchase separately in order to have access to fast travel in the re-release of a older Zelda game. Now imagine that, putting a basic game mechanic behind a damn paywall. Is this really the precedent we're setting now? We're putting basic game mechanics behind a paywall that the game mechanics itself has existed in hundreds of games years ago for free, or now we're locking that behind a paywall that's going to get scalped to high hell and back because it's a Nintendo product. Oh, well, I certainly hope not. That wouldn't be very good, now would it? And what really pisses me off about that kind of stuff is the fact that since it's Nintendo doing this, they'll get the most slack for it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's people out there talking about it and complaining about it. It's a talked about bit of controversy and stuff, and there's people that are against it and they're talking against it. But, but it's not talked about as big of an issue as it should be, because it is a pretty negative issue that, if that becomes a thing later on down the line where, companies are sectioning off basic game mechanics behind some form of paywall or structure or something like that. You can't allow that. That's stupid. Now, could you imagine if a company like, say, Ubisoft or heck even EA pulled this shit? I mean, honestly, this was something I was expecting Ubisoft to do, to be honest. I was expecting, with all the open world games Ubisoft is constantly cranks out on the conveyor belt, I was expecting them to put some kind of like fast travel or some other type of mechanic behind a paywall. I mean, they've already done that before, I believe, with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like, you could speed up the leveling in Assassin's Creed Odyssey by buying a microtransaction. You would level up faster instead of making the level grind take forever. So they've already paywalled faster leveling. And to be honest, I wish this was Ubisoft that did it, because then at least it would get enough significant backlash as to hopefully curb the possibility of this becoming a thing in the future. But you know, with it being Nintendo, people are gonna, you know, buy it anyway, complain about it, but then turn around and buy it anyway. Which people like that are just, whatever, dude. I don't understand complaining about it, but then buying into it anyway. That's just gonna make it happen more. But whatever, dude. You have fun, I guess. But yeah, the whole voting with your wallet thing, that just doesn't seem to be a viable option anymore these days. It's like the people that don't buy it will just be ignored by these companies in favor of the people that do buy it, because all these companies listen to is just the money, you know. So the people that give these companies the money have the louder voice, because they're, you know, giving them the money. They're showing them the positive reinforcement that, hey, if you do this, we'll buy you and increase your profit line and give you more. Meanwhile, the people that don't give them money, you know, they'll be ignored because, well, we don't give them money, so they have no reason to listen to us, since we're not, you know, fattening their wallets anymore. And adding to another one of my pet peeves in modern day gaming is this obsession over graphics. I mean, I appreciate when a game has good graphics, it looks good and it plays nice. That's always great. But it seems like these days people have gone full OCD over game graphics. I've seen people like outright trash or dismiss a game they've seen for the first time for a couple seconds just because it doesn't have hyper photorealistic graphics. And I just think that's a very narrow mindset to have. I mean, you're completely dismissing a game you've never even played before just because of how it looks. It just comes off as a very snobbish attitude to me. I mean, like, I don't care how a game looks. As long as I can play it and have a good time with it, that's the most important thing to me. I mean, I still play PS1 games, for crying out loud. So I don't get offended over video games graphics. That's why I like to look at a game, well, you know, I like to look at a game for its art style, and fuck some graphics. It's all about how a game's art style and art direction is to me. And I enjoy a variety of different art styles as well as art directions for games. You know, I've always loved cell shading. It's one of my favorites. I love the colorful, cartoony art. You know, bright, vibrant colors. And I like lower polygon count looking games. Those look cool too. And you know, I still like the realistic looking games too, because they still look really good as well. There's some, you know, realistic games that look freaking amazing. You know, although these days I do feel like, you know, at least the AAA side of things are going a bit overboard with the realism. You know, like I said, it looks good, but I don't want to play nothing but realistic looking games. That gets boring to look at and tiring after a while. Like, you know, like I said earlier, I like the variety. Where's my variety at, AAA game developers? I mean, these are video games. Let them have some fantasy and creativity with their visuals too. Like, it just sucks that there's people out there that will turn their nose up at a game if it isn't realistic looking and running at the utmost highest fidelity that it possibly can. Like I said before, I like when my games look and run nice too as well. You know, I don't want to play a game that runs at, like, you know, that runs like a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, because that hampers the overall gameplay. You can't play a game that does that. It takes the fun away. You know, but while I sit here and completely trash a game just because it's, you know, below 60 frames per second and 8K resolution, nah, fam, it doesn't bother me like that. People just act way too obsessed with game graphics these days. Now, what will kill a game for me is either how it plays, controls wise, and or if the camera is terrible. And I can play just about any game, you know, so long as, you know, it's a game I'm interested in actually playing, and, you know, the visuals and whatnot don't bother me. You know, it's whatever. I play a game for how it is. I play for, you know, for what I'm aware of, you know, what the time it was like, whatever said gameplay out. So I'm not too harsh about it. But, you know, if I struggle to actually play the game, or I have to fight with the game's camera just to be able to see anything, then yeah, I'm out. I don't care about nothing else. But if I can hardly play the game, or if I struggle to see what's going on in the game because of the camera, yeah, I'm not playing that game anymore. I'm gone. And yet another big pet peeve to add to this huge list is the industry's disregard for older products. You know, like when the whole PlayStation apocalypse, the PS3 apocalypse scare, that went down a while ago when Sony said they were going to yank down the PS3 and the PS Vita servers. Now, thankfully, Sony decided to take that decision back, but that doesn't erase the overall problem of this industry's lack of interest in preservation. Now, I'm not going to go full in on this topic right now, as that could be a whole other rant topic by itself, but it just really bothers me that this industry and just some people in the gaming community itself just disregard old games of the past just because it's not a it kind of loops back into my previous gripe of what I said about the obsession with graphics. It kind of ties back into that. Like, if it's not a day one brand new release with like the most shiniest, hyper polished visuals in human history, then people just go, "Oh, that's ancient. Nobody wants to play that game anymore." Or, "Why would you want to play that? That game came out so long ago. It's so old. Why are you playing it?" It's just it's just more a stubborn mindset to that you don't want to play a video game just because it's not brand new and it's aged some and the graphics aren't photorealistic. I mean, if you just aren't the type of person that's really interested in playing more retro games or whatever, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone wants to play retro games or whatever, and that's fine. But just don't just sit there and trash the games and think of them as lesser just because of some arbitrary mindset or whatever. I just find that very ignorant. And add on to this is the whole games as a service issue, which I'm not fond of either. And as a matter of fact, there's actually this guy on YouTube named Accursed Farms, and he did a whole video on why games as a service is a terrible business practice. It's kind of a long video, but I recommend watching it, as he goes into great detail about it and how it screws over us paying customers and things like that. And I'll probably I'll put a link in the description for it below that, so you guys can check that out if you guys wanted to check that out too. I don't want this to be a massively long rant video or anything, so I'll just be a little more concise. But yeah, screw games as a service. Basically, I do not like the idea of games as a service. I do not buy or want to support games that do the whole games as a service model. I've lost interest in quite a few games that looked cool at first, but then when I found out it was a games as a service, I'm like, well, there goes any chance of me ever wanting to play it. So it's its own separate demon that adds a whole other problems to the business models of these games, which lately, these days, the business model for these games seems to be the make as much money as possible in as many ways as possible and disregard the convenience / enjoyability of the consumers as much as we can get away with. Man, it's tragic out here these days. So overall, I like modern gaming less and less these days, just because of the combination of other things I listed. Plus, I just really feel the reality that I just don't see things getting any better in these regards. Like, the target audiences for these games are completely different these days than what they used to be when gaming was even like 10 years ago. And I just feel like these days people like these days me and people like me are no longer considered to be a part of the current target audience for these video games, I suppose. Now guys like me just let this sit on our old rocking chairs and reminisce about them good old days or something. But whatever, do screw it, it's fine by me. And it gives me more time and money to use to sit here and finish up collecting for my other consoles that I'm trying to finish up before these prices skyrocket to the moon, which that's a whole other kind of topic, is the prices of freaking retro games that's gone out of hand. But yeah, as time goes on, I think I'm just going to fade back more and more into just playing older games on my older systems that I've bought and collected over the years. I've spent years building up. If you guys watched, seen in my collection videos, I've spent years building up various collections for the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the original Xbox, the PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. And I'll even go up to the PlayStation 4. And I think it's about time to start putting more time into playing through some more of these games that I've bought and built up over the years. So I just got all these games, better, it seems like now is a better time than ever, since there's less games nowadays catching my interest. Now is a better time than ever to like start going through the backlog, picking out some games that I've bought over the years, always wanted to play, and to start getting through those and experiencing those. Some of them for the first time ever, and many of them for the first time ever, and seeing how I enjoy those. But I really feel like a big reason as to why gaming has gone the way it has these, past few years and stuff, is I really think it's because gaming has become like really mainstream. Like, I feel like in the long run, gaming becoming as big and mainstream as it has all these years has like ruined things about it. Like, it's not for the fact that it's more popular or anything like that. I think it's just because, like, I don't have all these issues with gaming just because it's more popular now or whatever. I don't think that's it. I just feel like, when gaming became as huge as it is, it lost something about itself over the years or something. I don't know. I can't really come up with a good way to explain it immediately, but I just feel like gaming has lost something about itself over the years. And I feel like the the big mainstream appeal of it is kind of like what led to that, or what helped it happen. I don't know, but I've made this video because of for a while I've come across and watched a few videos on this very topic on YouTube about this, and I've kind of been feeling the same way for a while, so I thought I'd give it a go and go ahead and rant about it too, I guess. Add one more video to the list of videos that pop up when you type in how bad modern gaming is getting, or just the decline of gaming overall. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm Stomach35 and I'm out. Peace.